Welcome to this info session about the Acumen Virtual Accelerator, a program to help nonprofit organizations incubate earned revenue streams. My name is Amy Ahern, and I am the Associate Director for Acumen. You can learn more about Acumen and all of our free and low-cost online learning opportunities at plusacumen.org. In this info session, we'll cover a few things. We'll start out by defining what we mean by earned income and the types of projects that are the best fit for our new nonprofit accelerator. You'll get a sense of what the program will consist of and the types of experts and practitioners you'll learn from. You'll get an overview of what you can expect if you participate in this program and information on how you can apply. But first, to get started, I want to share a brief story of an organization that has successfully launched an earned income venture, so you start to see what we mean by nonprofit earned revenue and what's possible. To begin, let's start with a cookie, a Girl Scout cookie, to be precise. Some of you who live in the United States might be familiar with these sweet treats. They're sold every year by the Girl Scouts, a large nationwide youth nonprofit organization for girls. Girl Scouts have been selling cookies since 1917. That makes them one of the oldest nonprofit earned income ventures we know of. And they've come a long way since then. Today, the organization earns over $700 million in annual revenue from selling 2 million cookies a year. Each box they sell costs about $3.50, and 75% of the money goes directly back to the local council. The rest goes to the bakers and to the national headquarters, which receives a licensing fee. It's a funding model that works amazingly well. But why? Well, there are two key reasons. First, selling Girl Scout cookies fits with the social mission of the organization. Cookie selling has evolved to become a program that helps girls learn about entrepreneurship and sales and managing money. So it aligns with the organization's nonprofit mission and brand, rather than distracting from it. Even more importantly, Girl Scout cookies are a product that people love. People don't buy them just to support a charity. They buy them because they're genuinely delicious and relatively affordable. In other words, Girl Scout cookies have found a market. So the question really is, where can you find your Girl Scout cookie? Or the sweet spot where your nonprofit organization's social mission can meet a revenue-generating opportunity? Is there the equivalent of a $700 million funding source in your future? Well, let's start by putting this all into context. Social entrepreneurship is a movement that has long been on the rise. At Acumen, we're excited to see this. Acumen is an impact investing fund. We raise capital and invest it in social enterprises that provide critical goods and services to the poor around the world. As we've worked in the field of social entrepreneurship for more than a decade, we have also seen that nonprofits should definitely be getting involved in incubating entrepreneurial solutions to entrenched problems of poverty and social injustice. We don't think that entrepreneurship belongs solely in the realm of the for-profit sector, and we've been thrilled to see all types of nonprofits and NGOs, from those that focus on eye care to literacy to workforce development, getting involved in building sustainable business models to support their work. However, while some ventures have taken off and scaled to unprecedented heights, others have floundered and actually become drains on organizations' valuable time and resources. In fact, a study from Community Wealth Ventures shows that 57% of nonprofits are considering launching an earned income venture to diversify their funding and make them less reliant on grants. And yet, of those that start, 71% of nonprofit ventures are ultimately unprofitable. We think it doesn't have to be this way. And through lean experimentation and best practices from entrepreneurship, nonprofits can effectively test and pilot earned income initiatives faster so that you have better chances for success. This is why we've launched the new Acumen Nonprofit Earned Income Accelerator. We have had applicants and interest from across the world, literally from countries ranging from Albania to Zanzibar. And so as we've gone through these hundreds of applications and selected 50 organizations to participate in our inaugural 2 cohorts, we have been looking for individuals who meet these criteria. First, they tend to come from established organizations, which, as general guidelines, have at least 3 years of operating history and at least 5 staff, although we do sometimes find exceptions. These individuals should be working to incubate a new earned income stream for their organization that could help them achieve their social impact mission or subsidize other core activities. We do emphasize that you should have a relatively stable funding model in place and that the earned income you generate should not be your sole source of funding. We're looking for people who want to give and receive feedback from a peer community and learn from each other. And finally, we're looking for individuals and organizations that have an entrepreneurial mindset. And by this, we mean that they are open to using entrepreneurial approaches, but may have had limited prior business training. So what types of ideas fit best for this earned income accelerator? Well, you don't have to be selling cookies or t-shirts. In fact, sometimes we encourage you to find other sources of revenue that are directly mission aligned and will help you reach more beneficiaries. But you could be doing things like packaging your organization's expertise as a training or curriculum that could be offered directly to customers or beneficiaries or to other organizations. Many participants in this accelerator program have prototyped a fee-for-service model or a consulting business model to sell their expertise to other organizations, governments, or corporations. And some have been figuring out how to identify new paying customer segments for their existing products or services. Those are just some of the business models that can be piloted through this accelerator. So who has participated in the past? In the first cohort, we saw a range of organizations from across geographies and sectors, from organizations that were both large, like Heifer International, and smaller ones from grassroots organizations like Vijana Corps in Uganda. So they came from around the world, from across sectors, from across geographies, and all participated in this initial cohort, incubating a variety of nonprofit business models. In our second cohort, we similarly saw a diverse array of organizations who participated, ranging from the United Way to PACT, which is serving global offices around the world, to smaller organizations like California School Age Consortium, which operates in the Bay Area, Nonprofit Connect, which operates in Kansas City, Future First Kenya, and PS Kenya, which are both in Nairobi, and a variety of other organizations. All of these participants walked through a structured curriculum that centers around the desirability, feasibility, and viability framework for innovation that was first outlined by the design firm IDEO. And this framework posits that the sweet spot for any type of innovation comes at the intersection of these 3 lenses. The first is desirability. And in this accelerator, we interpret that as what will be desirable to your customers? What will people actually want and pay for? The second lens is feasibility. So what can your nonprofit organization effectively pull off? How will you leverage your core strengths and assets to define a differentiated strength in the market? And then finally, the last and crucial lens is viability. And that means what are the profit margins that you actually have to achieve in order to make your idea financially viable. So through this accelerator curriculum, here is how it breaks down so that we address each of those 3 lenses and you end up with a strong innovation developed by the end of the program. We kick off with an orientation that begins January 29th, and then that is followed by 6 weeks of the intensive accelerator curriculum. In the first 2 weeks, you will be getting out and talking to real potential customers using a structured interview process and beginning to articulate your value proposition from the perspective of those customers. Then we will get into mapping your organizational core using a framework developed by the strategy consulting firm Bain & Company, so that you begin to make sure that you're building off your organization's existing strengths and assets and build something that is both mission aligned and differentiated in the market. And then you'll be mapping that using the business model canvas tool. Finally, you will get into actually sizing your market and developing your financial model. And by that, I mean starting to figure out the unit economics of what will be required for you to actually achieve break even or profitability. So you will be beginning to test out price points, modeling out your costs, and then modeling out your potential profit margins. So you begin to see how much seed funding you might need to get your idea off the ground, and then what are the margins of growth that you can hope to achieve year over year as you hopefully scale your earned income venture. In weeks 5 and 6, you will be then prototyping a minimum viable product or a basic prototype of your idea so that you again begin to validate the desirability of your innovation in the market. And then in week 6, you will begin to understand the funding landscape, find champions for your idea, and synthesize all of your work into a compelling pitch that you'll be ready to present in a final showcase for external experts on March 20th. For this final showcase, Acumen gathers a variety of experts and practitioners from across our network to give you feedback and external perspectives on your idea. So here is a sense of the types of experts that you can anticipate hearing from, either in pre-recorded video tutorials, in insights that have been incorporated into the curriculum materials directly, or in that final external showcase. There are people like Peter Kim, who is the Chief Learning and Innovation Officer for Bridgespan, the strategy consulting firm for nonprofits, Ann Mai Chang, the author of Lean Impact, and the former Chief Innovation Officer for USAID, Anne-Marie Burgoyne, who operates in a grant-making capacity at Emerson Collective and is also a lecturer at Stanford, Patricia Marino-Price, who formerly headed up the learning function at IDEO.org and now runs the consulting firm Human Sites, Keiko Rust, who was formerly of Goldman Sachs and now consults on nonprofit business models for KHOR Consulting, Nabila Amarse, who was on the team that developed the business model canvas at Strategizer and now supports global innovation projects at UNDP, Vicky Tam, who leads the social impact practice at Bain & Company, the consulting firm, and will share with you the core map template to diagnose your organization's distinctive strengths. Kathleen Kelly-Janis, the author of Social Startup Success, which contains a chapter specifically on nonprofit earned income models, and she's also a lecturer at Stanford. Sasha Dichter, Acumen's Chief Innovation Officer, and also one of the founders of the Lean Data Company. Diana Peacock of First Book, who has launched her own earned income venture there, and previously consulted with Community Wealth Ventures. These video tutorials featuring the experts, along with additional case studies and project briefs, are all contained on an online curriculum portal, which up to 10 people from your organization can access. This includes real case studies from a variety of organizations that have either successfully launched or failed to launch an earned income venture, so that you can learn directly from their insights and experiences and begin to extrapolate and apply those lessons to your own projects. So here is a sampling of the types of organizations that are profiled in the case studies. They include First Book, Aravind Eye Care, Seedco, One Acre Fund, Living Goods, International Development Enterprises India, Drive Change, and La Casa de Don Pedro, just as a sample, so that you see the wide variety of geographies and sectors that these case studies cover, along with others that will contain relevant lessons for your own particular nonprofit business models. Like I mentioned, instructional videos are housed on this learning platform that both you and your team will continue to have access to after the course ends, so that you can continue to reference them. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you'll gain access to workbooks, tools, and a structured dashboard, so that you have step-by-step guidelines on how to complete an assignment every week and move your earned income idea forward. What we find is that people often enjoy the opportunity to work on these activities with their team and build cross-functional collaboration across people at their organization. And then after they complete the accelerator, they'll often run through this similar structured process again for additional earned income ideas, either to refine an existing one or to pilot a new one. So having ongoing access to this set of tools and methods is a real benefit that past participants have cited. And finally, once you complete your weekly assignment, a lead participant from your organization will show up for a virtual weekly learning lab, which is a video call. And in that format, you will be giving and receiving feedback from a cohort of peers from across other nonprofit organizations. The typical size for a cohort is 8 to 10 other organizations led by an Acumen coach. And during those learning labs, you'll be receiving real-time peer feedback. So here's a sampling of what you can expect to see. You dynamically interact with the other participants. And each week, then Acumen compiles all of your feedback from peers, as well as feedback from your Acumen coach into a feedback report so that by the end of the program, you are walking away with access to 6 weeks worth of documented feedback on your business model, ongoing access to the curriculum portal, ongoing access to the peer community and Acumen network. And if you complete all of the Accelerator requirements, you will earn a statement of accomplishment. So you might be wondering what has happened in the past to organizations that have participated in this Accelerator program. Have they actually successfully generated earned income? This has been our inaugural year, and so we have only had 50 organizations run through it so far, and they are still in the early days of implementation, but we have had many that have already achieved promising results. So I'll share a few of those examples with you now. The first is from Ben, who is a manager at the Asian and Pacific Islander American Health Forum in Oakland, California. As part of this Accelerator program, he developed a targeted recruitment training program for public health departments to help recruit patient populations. And through the Accelerator, he ended up refining the program model and presenting it in a proposal to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States, who, based on the promising work and the potential market, ended up giving him 5 years of funding to begin to subsidize and launch this earned income venture, in part because of the promise they saw for it to achieve long-term sustainability and reach new patient populations. So here's a behind-the-scenes glimpse of the work that Ben did in the Accelerator. He came in with this idea, but through receiving lots of feedback from peers, ended up really refining the language and the value proposition to make it less jargon-filled and less specific to the patient population he was familiar with serving and more broadly applicable to a larger market. He sized that market very concretely through this market sizing assignment and began to identify exactly how many target customers might be in his reach. And then he very concretely built out the unit economics of the model, beginning to calculate his potential costs, revenue margins per unit, and then anticipating how his income might grow over time. We also had Carlotta participate from the Hunger Project, which is based in New York City. Through the Accelerator, she developed a 3-tier fee-for-service model to sell training and consultations on the Hunger Project's methodology to other governments and NGOs. She actually ended up selling the first engagements during the Accelerator itself, and she is working on an updated offering to be rolled out in 2019. These are screenshots of the MVP or prototype of the website that Carlotta developed during the Accelerator program, so you can get a sense of the outcome that she walked away with. Emma from Axion in Boston prototyped a global governance lab concept for leaders of microfinance institutions in Africa. This was a project previously funded by the MasterCard Foundation, but they were looking for earned income to subsidize this work and continue to make it sustainable. And so through the Accelerator program, Emma tested out a paid membership model with 4 levels of offerings, and they were gearing up to test it with 20 different stakeholders and begin to roll it out. Cecilia in Minneapolis, Minnesota, came into the Accelerator looking to offer diversity training to nonprofits and thought that they would be charging $49 a seat. Her core expertise is delivering diversity and inclusion professional development. Through the Accelerator assignments and coursework, she ended up realizing that they needed to actually flip their model and offer the training for free. But if they were very deliberate in who they invited to those trainings, they ended up finding that They could then charge for follow-on engagements and consultations, and so far they've ended up generating around $60K in revenue. We have two more examples. Eric came from the Netherlands, and he worked with R&W Media's team in China to develop a gender sensitivity workshop to sell to Chinese corporations and to subsidize the important media work that R&W was doing in Asia. Through the Accelerator, they refined their pitch quite significantly, developed a flyer and pitch deck as their minimum viable product, and actually ended up pitching it to several major corporations with a presence in China, including Airbnb and Nestle. Most recently, in the most current round of the Accelerator, Andrew Courtney from the United Way, based at the headquarters in Washington, D.C., developed a very compelling pitch for corporations that the United Way could help them achieve their corporate social responsibility goals and align them with the Sustainable Development Goals, and then fund them through targeted impact funds. So they are still in the early phases of testing this out, but he has reported back that his immediate supervisor shared feedback that the work they had done was spectacular. And he said, yesterday, I spent 30 minutes with our CEO on next steps, and he's helping identify a global tier corporate partner for a pilot. And the screenshot you see on the right is an example of the very compelling pitch deck that Andrew put together as part of the Accelerator. So we're looking forward to more updates from him on his first sales. So all of that to say, hopefully those examples gave you some inspiring proof of the kinds of work that you can hope to do in this Accelerator program and the results you can walk away with. We are in the process of recruiting for the next round, so you can find more information, a copy of the frequently asked questions we receive, and a copy of the syllabus at eiaccelerator.plusacumen.org, where you can also find the application and information on how to contact us. As a reminder, your whole organization should have one lead participant who coordinates the work and submission of assignments each week and shows up to the virtual learning lab. But up to 10 people from your organization can access the curriculum and complete assignments together. After the program ends, you do have ongoing access to all of the curriculum materials and the community platform. And Acumen also does our best to facilitate connections to other nonprofits or experts with experience in similar business models. We're looking for nonprofits with the best and boldest ideas from all over the world. And so to enable access to this curriculum, we do offer scholarships to make sure this opportunity is accessible to a wide range of individuals and organizations. So if you do require need-based financial aid, please indicate that on your application form, and we are able to offer up to 50% scholarships. If you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to accelerator@plusacumen.org, and we are happy to respond to them and also set up a time to chat if you would like a consultation. The timeline to remember is that for this round, you need to apply by December 7th. Interviews will take place between now and December 14th, and we do offer acceptances on a rolling basis, so it's best if you get your application in early. The virtual orientation for the program will kick off on January 29th for those organizations that are accepted. The 6-week-long Accelerator will be February 5th through March 13th, and the final showcase is March 20th. If you have any questions, like I mentioned, you can check out our website, plusacumen.org, and also email accelerator@plusacumen.org. Otherwise, we look forward to reviewing your applications and wish you the best of luck as you apply.